selections, we have lots of different options we can choose from. And the central control panel here is where we can actually choose from it. Just want to stand back a little bit, man, so you can't see over your shoulders. That's it. Come around to make sure you can see. So, what we have is a swappable surface. It can be anything you want it to be. Now, the way to remember it is this is how it should look. And every time you start looking at the channel strips coming in, you should look at the top and say, right, I have three controls. I have my pan and my gain. Okay. Now, we won't have pan on the CD player because it's a digital source, so we can't really pan that. It's set up to be just stereo, which is what it is. So with a microphone, though, you can tell on here straight away we have a pan option. It has this little bar, which is green, and I can just move it left or right, and you see it moving left or right up here. So they're pan and gain to begin with, the initial three ports. So we play with our gain. Let's have a look. Is that signal okay? Well, it looks okay. We wouldn't turn it up, you know, that's bad. Okay. In this case, do trust your eyes. That one straight away I wouldn't want to send that anywhere. So I want to bring it down first. Get it to a respectable level. I'm looking at about minus 12 on here. So we have our minus 12. That's going to be a good signal to play with. You know, something which we can boost if we need to. Yeah, I mean this has got just over 86 dB of headroom. So even if we take it up past the point, which it's not going to distort, but it will eventually start, you know, degrading in quality. So yeah. So as it's coming in, we'll check it out. This level, it says on the top, this level is pre-fader. So what does that mean? Before the fader, exactly. So this level's coming in before the fader. So we're going to test it with our PFL. PFL's only in this room. Okay? Pre-fade listen, pre-fade level, depends on what desk you're with, but yeah, it's most of the time pre-fade listen. So you can bring it in. There's another sneaky way of doing it on this desk. Pretty cool. You just pull the fader towards you. So once it's gone past infinity, you bring it towards you, you can feel it kind of notch up. It kind of clicks into another notch and then you just let go of it.
Is that just another way to do PFL?
Yep. It's just a quick fix way, so if you want to go, oh, what's that sound? Okay, it's done. You don't have to remember what buttons you've got on, which buttons you haven't got on. So it's easy to turn it on and off. PFL or reverse it. Right, okay, so you're there, you've got a good signal. We now know that that's a really good signal. It's clean, it's coming in, it's no distortion, no crackles, pops are all good. We've got, if we need it, on the microphones here, we've got a pad. So, you know what pads do? Yeah?
They attenuate the level.
Exactly. You remember I said on the DI box downstairs, we flick it, we can go down to minus 60 dB. These are set to minus 20. So if we've got a hot signal coming in, something that's just really hot, which we can't really control with the gain, and it's distorted before we even do anything with it, we can whack on a pad and it will take it down minus 20 for us. There are advanced settings in here to change all these pad values down to individual numbers if you want to. So you can drop it down to minus 40, 50, 60, 100, whatever. But their default minus 20. Okay, you probably don't need any more than that because we're normally using the DI box on the other end if something's that hot. So, the pad. We've also got plus 48, which is exactly, or you know, you normally get the kind of square root signal almost. So a V48, you can have a V48, V plus 48, just 48 on its own. Lots of different ways to understand what phantom power symbol is. There's no official way, but there's lots of different desks that have different versions of what phantom power should be. So we've got plus 48 on here, pan, and our gain. Okay, so that's what these four controllers do at this point in time. They won't work the same way on the microphones as they do on the thing, and vice versa. Over here, these are all digital inputs. All of our server players, 1, 2, and 3 across here, are actually surround sound. So, actually, yes, they all surround sound. All three of them are surround sound channels. So you can see on one of them, we've actually got like a bit of a quadraphonic mix going on there. 4 channels. They've probably done front left, front right, back left, back right, and centre's a phantom, and the sub's a phantom. So that mix, whatever that was, you know, a mixture of stuff they put together. And because I was saying before, remember I was saying about the embedded audio down an SDI link, yeah? Although we can see stereo bars going out there, that's the first left and right. You've also got your embedded audio going to this desk, which is then decoding it. So this has also got encoders and decoders on board, basically, so you don't have to worry about outboard units, which is pretty awesome. So they're coming in, decoding that. You do have a pan option on this, because on some of them, on some of them you will have to be able to surround pan it, so you can send stuff to other speakers if you want to. But you don't have the phantom power or the pad, because it's additional signal, so it should be lined, and it's coming straight in. So, working our way down. You up? Alright. Working our way down through here, we've gone through our controls. We then have, do we want to send it to the master? Most cases, yes. Some cases, when you're working with the band stuff,
Submix.
exactly, we're going to make subgroups, audio subgroups, which we can drop things into, which I'll show you how to do that later. Working our way down through there, we do have this selection here, so if we want to send it to an audio subgroup, we can do. This will also be our controller for our mix minus. You worked with mix minuses before? How mix minuses work? They're really good for if you've got like talk shows with telephones or something like that. Something where, the best way I remember it is you minus someone at the mix. So if they're listening to a mix, it's minus themselves. Perfect for telephones, right? You don't want to send a mix to themselves with themselves in it because it will end up causing a feedback loop at home. So you mix minus. You send them a mix minus the person, or minus what they are. It's a good way of doing stuff, like especially for drummers as well. You can give them a mix minus and say, I want everything. Brilliant. You can set up a mix minus, and then they can have everything apart from themselves. Sound cool, eh?
So like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something, they would probably do a mix minus.
Yeah, they'll probably do. Yeah, they'll take themselves out of it because they're at home talking down the mic, and all they need is like, they just need a clear mix coming back from the studio.
Yeah.
Most of the times they'll have someone on the line before that and say, right, can you turn your set down or whatever, make sure that it's not going to cause a feedback loop, because otherwise they will hear themselves on the TV, pick themselves up on the mic, and it'll just be like howling back.
Yeah.
So it'd be a bit of a delay in there, maybe like a
Happens on the radio.
5 second delay, something like that. I think normally on telephone it's 7 second delay, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, 7 seconds. So okay, so you got like a bit of delay there. You could have delayed feedback.
Latency.
Latency.
That's the name, not delay. Latency.
Yeah, okay, latency. Well, latency is more of a thing if it's like, if you're working with like like audio effects units, like interfaces and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the latency time from when you hear yourself and where it's going out, I guess you can call it latency. Yeah, I've always called it delay. You put delays into the chain. See, that's why I'm thinking that. So if I can say, I want them to be, I want everything to be delayed 7 seconds to catch up with the vocal, I can delay the entire desk. So that will mess with things on sync on the screen, so don't do that. Anyway, so we've got our selection, basically. Down here, we then got our on, our AFL and PFL, so we can choose what's going on here. So there's our fader mix, bringing that into the system. And when we're bringing these levels up, we're looking for levels no higher than the test line. So between test and minus 12 is roughly good. It's going to give you about a 4 on a BBC PPM scale. So I can show you what a BBC scale looks like. I go meters, give me scale of BBC. So there we go, that's the PPM for BBC. So we're hitting 4, perfect levels. That's actually perfect levels there. You go above 4 to 5, you've got a little bit of headroom there, so about 4 dB gain from there to there. Anything above 5 I'll be very cautious of, because some people have hit 5 and 6. Some people have definitely hit 6, I know of, that sent their stuff off to the BBC for what's it called, Autumn and Spring Watch, and ex-students from here and stuff, and they mastered it all, but the audio on some of them went up to 5 and 6, and in some cases when it hits that high, the BBC just reject it. So they have very, very specific guidelines, very strict guidelines, which you can find on Blackboard. I've put them on there. So you'll be able to see, right, okay, it's got to be with this threshold, with a percentage of over or under. So that's what we're looking for. But yeah, working with our levels, I'll put that back to full scale in a minute. Sorry, the one we were on before was full scale. So we get every dB shown on there in an instantaneous peak, instead of a varied amount over ppm. So what else can we do with this desk? Well, we were saying about grouping, which we'll look at in a second, but we can also EQ, we can add dynamics, we can play around with our auxiliaries. So we want to send stuff back to the studio floor most of the time. The way we can do that is working with auxiliaries. So just imagine auxiliaries is like a tap. You turn on the tap and the water's flowing, and then you have all these other little taps that you can turn on to, get water to other people's homes and stuff like that. It's the same idea. What we're doing here is we've got one audio feed coming in, and we're turning on a tap to send it out to a certain area. In this case, we're going to send it down to the studio floor. So, I said before, we can change our bank up here so they become other controllers. This is now going to become an auxiliary controller. I'm going to say, right, well, I want to work with auxiliaries 1 and 2. Okay? 1 and 2, I know, are the floor wedges. Remember on the wall box downstairs it said 1 and 2, yeah? They are our 1 and 2 channels. Now, working with our control panel in the centre here, this middle 8 section, we can bring it to, bring up different things. So floor auxiliary 1, floor auxiliary 2, studio floors, in-ear monitors, and then effects 1 and 2 as a stereo return. So I'm going to bring up floor wedges 1 and 2 to 0, and studio monitors to 0. Most of those should be leveled out with 0. I would keep everything at unity if possible, and then you adjust your gain accordingly so that you know that if you're hitting 0 all the time, you're going to be roughly the right levels. It's going to help you mix a lot easier, especially for broadcast. When it comes to doing music and stuff, obviously, you go with your intuition, you work with your musical knowledge of what you've been doing. So, it's all about whatever you want to mix with then. But a good rule of thumb is trying to get everything at gain, at unity, so when you bring everything up to 0, you don't have to do much work. Yeah, everything's there. You can just go, right, I've got a plus, I've got a minus, I can take away, I can give more if I need to. So you've got that little bit of headroom to work with. So, I know that 0 is a good level for all the studio monitors down there. And I can give individual levels to whichever one of those speakers I want to anyway. So, if you've got a drummer, like I said before, they might want to hear the guitarist and the vocalist and the keyboard player. They might want to hear a little bit of kick drum, who knows. Try not to send too much bass end stuff down through those monitors because they're only little monitors and the bandwidth will be eaten up straight away. So, so send them 1 or 2, 3 things or whatever. So we can say, right, okay, well, the guys down here in the studio on auxiliaries 1 and 2 want to hear the CD player. So I press auxiliary 1 and 2. And it brings up these function controls. There's an on button and a level button. Now, there's 2 ways of setting up these faders, pre and post. Yeah? So you know the differences between pre and post in auxiliaries? No? Yeah? Okay. Some people do, some people don't. Okay. So let's look, right? If we've got a CD player and we want them to hear, so they're going to go, right, here's the music, theme music, fade in the music, fade out in music, cue presenter. Okay? And then the presenter goes, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Da, da, da. They need to kind of know when that's fading out, don't they? Otherwise, they'll just be on all the time. And that's the difference. Pre-fader or post-fader. If you've got it on pre-fader, the level will stay on, and it's always on. Perfect for vocalists if they're in a band, They don't want their level waving around because if you're changing the front of house mix. They want their level to be solid and straight. So you go, right, I've got this level just under feedback, and it's perfect for when they're all playing together. It's not going to feedback, and it's loud enough for that vocalist. So you go pre-fader. That means it doesn't matter what you do. You can have Mexican wave going across there. It will just be flat for them. They'll have a good level all the time. Perfect for band stuff, okay? Not so good for presenters that need to hear things fading in and out. So they might be there, it's like, and it's coming into the show. Hey, welcome to the show. It's good to see you this week. They know where they're naturally going to drop in because they've got their fade points in there. Whereas if they had a and they go, cue presenter, they'll be like, yeah, hi, welcome to the show. Their voice is completely thrown off there.
It's quite hard for them to concentrate.
Exactly. You've got that blasting out in the studio. They don't know where the level, and then it will suddenly go like this. Or it'll be like, oh, we've done that one. And they'll be like, oh, it stopped suddenly. Because it will be on the other end. Someone will hit stop and reset the clock ready. So you've got to kind of think about it in how you want to set these things up. If it's a band situation, pre-faders or pre-fade or auxiliary pre is the best way of setting it up. If it's a situation where you need to listen to stuff, post it, then what it means is post fader. So it gets affected after the fader. So wherever the fader does, it affects what's going on. Okay? So that's the difference between pre and post in auxiliaries. And you can change those individually. It says here A1P, A2P. So these are set up in pre, post, or global post. I can set different things to be whatever I want individually. So it's a quick little panel selection, which we'll look at. I've kind of got them set up to be all playbacks to be in post, all stuff like that over there to be in pre at the moment. So depends what I want to do.
It's global post where it can be controlled by a different thing or something.
Do you know, with the global post, I haven't used the command. I've only done it individually. Now, I've read in the manual you can do it 2 different ways. You can use global post to affect the group. So if you're working with, say, you've got like 7 microphones for your drum kit, you can say if that's the master key, if that's the master fader for all of them, then you can say global post, and it will affect all of the faders.
Oh, right, yeah, that's quite.
But I'm not too sure exactly. I've not used that function, but it's something we can play with, something to look at definitely.
Yeah.
So we've got auxiliary control here. I'm sending my levels now. I'm going to look on this screen here. You've got a little quick screen here. Tells you what's going on. This is touchscreen, by the way. This middle one. So you can double click on stuff and you'll go into menus and stuff. But you look down here, it says auxiliary buses, okay? So remember I was saying with the vision mixer, a bus is a group of stuff. Same thing here. This is showing our bus, our auxiliary buses. So what we send in it. And we know now that we're sending a signal. We're sending it CD player, which is going out. CD player there. Auxiliary 1 has got a CD player going down through it. And auxiliary 2, yeah, auxiliary 2 should have as well. No, it's not lighting up. Oh, turn it on. Interesting. Because I had it on different fader mode. So that's post. Global post is off at the moment. Pre-fader. So you can see the difference there. Pre-fader level of the CD player and the post-fader level of the CD player. So at the moment it's not sending anything down there until I bring this one in. Post-fader. So you see all those levels getting affected by the fader. And then that one's staying constant because it's not being affected. So I'm just going to turn it on back to post. There you go, they're all on post now. So perfect, you can see the levels going in, going out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in-ear monitors, the wireless monitors, or where did I say we could plug them in? Remember the in-ear monitors? Where can we plug the in-ear monitors in? On the wall box, yeah? So you've got an actual physical plug as well. So if you had a separate unit, you could plug it into there. You know, sometimes they bring their own system. You know, a band will say, actually, we've got our own ears, and they're on a different frequency, and all 4 of us use these. And they go, can you just give us a feed? And you go, yeah, sure. There's your feed. Plug it into the wall, and then you control the signal going to that box they've got down the other end. Good little system. Okay, so we're going to look at effects. Again, it's just an auxiliary. It's sending it somewhere. In this case, over there by those guys, can you just stand aside a little bit? You've got the lexicon at the bottom there, the champagne-coloured, kind of awesome 24-bit 96 kilohertz controller. That has 6 channels, and each one of them uncompressed, and it allows you to do loads of cool stuff like reverb, delays, compression, and all that kind of stuff. What we've got it set up is at the moment is instead of being 6 individual mono buses, mono channels, 6, there you go. We've actually got it set up to be 2 stereo groups. So we've got 2 channels spare. I could link up a third if I needed to, but for now we've just done 2. We've got a reverb. We've got a reverb and we've got a delay. Just standard stuff, nothing fancy, but it does sound really, really nice. And we can adjust that reverb to be spatial in terms of 5.1. Yeah.
Yeah, I take it you set up stereo because reverbs and delays sound better.
Exactly, yeah. You don't really want a mono reverb or a mono delay. So what I've done, I've got a stereo delay, just so I can get more out of it, because originally we had it set up as a surround sound reverb.
Oh,
so you set it there, it was like all 6 channels were sounding beautiful. And it still does sound beautiful. Thing is, sometimes you need to be a bit more controlled in the bands. So they say, oh, actually, can I have a bit of reverb on the vocal and a little bit of slapback delay kind of effect or whatever on the guitar or whatever, you know. So you can add 2 independent stereo channels here.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is, as I turn this up, obviously we want the effect to be coming in. I mean, I've just got it set up to post fader at the moment, so the effect will be affected as the same amount as what you're putting into it. Otherwise you could overload the reverb, you know, you end up sending a pre-fader level, you just have loads of reverb constantly, and you might only want a little bit applied as you get louder or whatever. So, depends on the level coming in. You can now look on the box, the first 4 channels are now green. They've got, you've got 1 and 2 are reverb, 3 and 4 are delay. So that's going off there, so we've turned on that tap and that water's flowing to that box, yeah? To get it back, we've basically gone, right, here's the 2 cables, and we've gone wham in there. And they come back in on a return channel. FX1.
Yeah, FX1 and 2, yeah.
So now we've got that reverb
So
on there.
it's delay here then?
Yep. Go for it. Take it right up. So, bring that one down a second. You can see why we've got 2 independent channels. We can really control stuff now and set things up. Yeah, go for it.
So can you do listens again just by...
Yeah, free a fella. Go for it. There you go. So you still got the main mix going out from this one, but if you bring those down, it will... That's the reverb channel, that's your delay channel.
Ah, cool.
So you can still PFL them. And you can also, because they're coming back into the system, you can compress those if you wanted to, and not that you really want to compress reverb unless you're doing a gated snare kind of effect, like you know, Phil Collins kind of that really massive reverb with a massive compression on it, and then a real tight gate at the end of it, so it ends up you know, really tight and big. But we're past all that now. So we're on to spatial, get it big and get it sounding epic. So that's basically how you'd run auxiliaries. They're all the same. You just choose from the menu at the top which one you want to work with. You turn it on or turn it off accordingly. If I go to auxiliary 5, you'll see on across the display here, that it's now only got one option. You can turn on number 5. It's because I've grouped them together. Because 5 and 6 make an auxiliary. They make a stereo pair. And you can see that on our display here. You can see them linked together. 5 and 6 are actually linked. They've got a little line that joins them together and makes FX1 or FX2. So, how do we play around with the sound? Let's have a listen. Okay, so I want to actually make it sound like it's coming from, maybe we're doing a, let's make it sound like it's coming from a nightclub, or maybe the MEN Arena. You're outside, it's going to be quite basic from outside, isn't it? You're not going to hear this top end, this clear kind of clarity you've got. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the channel to attention. This is how we start using this central board. So far we've not used this function, and all it means is I just want to work with that channel. Because there's so many channels to choose from, you don't want to get confused, so what you do is you say, bring that to attention. It's now gone green, okay, you'll see that, yeah, it's gone green at the top here. And what that means is that I can work with my central board and it will only affect that channel. So let's have a look. Now I've done that, my EQ's come alive, and so is my dynamics. Yep. So, I'm going to say, parameter, show me what I'm working with. I've got a flat EQ and I've got a flat dynamic at the moment. So, I'm going to then adjust. There's my bottom end gone. So I might bring up the bottom end a bit, take off the top end, take off the mid. Okay, that sounds roughly like you're in another room, but if we add the reverb and delay, make it sound like you're in the toilet or something, and that's going on next door. So simple little EQ effects can really change things up a bit. So that's coming through your wall at 2 o'clock in the morning. Shut up, I'm trying to sleep.
It's like my neighbours, that.
Yeah, and you can clear it out just by holding down the in button, so it just wipes it out. Maybe you want to do like a bell curve, give you like a telephone sound. You're on hold or something. Taking out the bottom end, taking out the top end, you end up with this kind of weird looking curve shape. Looks like a bell shape, basically, that's why it's called a bell curve. Clear it out. Maybe you're on the bus, someone's got their headphones on, or they've got their speaker on really loud and they're listening to dubstep. That's all you get. There's no bass in those dubstep sounds when they're put through those speakers.
Could you say if you wanted to go to room 2,
yep,
but you wanted to keep those settings,
yep,
could you just click attention?
That's it. We're now on, exactly, that's, whatever I set there will stay. So you'll see there. Okay, I'll jump to this one, jump to that one. You can see different dynamics changing there. So each one of these have a different, selection. As long as you remember to press the next one, you should be fine. Otherwise, you will always be affecting this one. The worst thing you can do is obviously work on this, and then go, oh, that's great, and then just start, working on, I want to do the spot on. You kind of like mess with the fader, that won't select it. You need to actually, yeah. Now there is a function that allows you to touch select. So if you touch a fader, you're then actively working on it. But I found that quite dangerous working with it, because you'd be working on something and you make an adjustment and then you select something else and you forget that because this way you're actually bringing something active and you're saying stay active until I tell you not to be active. Yeah. Whereas if you touch something accidentally and then you get some paperwork or whatever and you go back and you start EQing again and you've accidentally knocked something on the way and it's found your skin and made a conductive loop, it touches it. It thinks that it's working on the next channel. So you start working on that one, you mess up your EQ for another one. So it's best to keep it in, this is their default setting. So I've kind of thought, yeah, that's a good way of doing it. But you can change things. EQ, dynamics. Dynamics, again, the compressor on this is amazing. It's very musical as well. It means that it's not so brick wall limited. You can make it a brick wall limiter if you want. You can do everything you want with the compressor. So people know how compression works? Yeah? Okay, good. So you've got your gain makeup, you've got your threshold, you've got your ratio, your release time, your attack time. Obviously, too high in attack time, you're going to start affecting transients, which are going to start affecting how your sound actually comes across. So let's have a look. This has probably been compressed to crap as it is, because it's commercially it's done. It's probably leveled out at 0, which you can see it's got no movement there. There's hardly any dynamic range in this track. It's just solid block, which people do and people like it. Some people are against it. It's all whatever you prefer. Obviously, it gives you a completely different sound. So here, I've got it selected. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit of compression. My dynamics are up here. I'm going to say, well, let's give it a 2:1 ratio. Threshold, we'll get it to kick in at say minus 15 for now, just so it starts working. I've got a gain makeup of say 7. I'm going to change my attack time to be about 260 and release. Attack time to be 150 and release time to be about 300, something like that. Bit of a really quick attack, just past the transients. Longer release time of 300 milliseconds. So we bring that in. You can kind of hear the snare drum has lost a bit more of its sparkle and it's now gone wider. The kick drum is a bit more flat, but again wider. So all this stuff is just squashing and squashing and squashing. And you can see, if I turn it on, we've got our level reading up here, so it actually has its own gain reduction on there for you, so you can see which ones are active straight away. So it's really handy seeing actually this is at a good level and a good gain, but we're kicking that compressor in quite heavily, and you can tell from here. So it could be just a case of, right now, I don't actually want it to be that much, I can reduce my compressor settings here, or I could say, you know what, that compressor setting's perfect for what I want, just I have too much level going in, so adjust the threshold. Say, maybe take it down to there. It's not kicking in so much anymore. And obviously you could adjust the gain on the original input as well if you needed to. So, there's quite a bit in there, isn't it? So let's just recap on what we've got. So, we can get to Spot On. Spot On, by the way, here it is. It's your friendly friend over here that does lots of
if they're doing a game show as well.
game show, yeah. It's perfect for what you need to do actually. So we're on Spot On 1, Spot On 2, A and B. What do we have on A and B? Well, easy touchscreen interface. Bring in your stick with your MP3, your WAV, preferably WAV, keep it uncompressed, ALFF or ACC, anything you've got I can normally convert. And yeah, it will normally do that. It depends on what it is in there, but yeah, I mean, it should do it. If not, I've got converters on there. Yeah, I mean, quickest, easiest option. I know WAVs are perfect. They just go straight away. It doesn't matter what format they are in terms of 16-bit, 24-bit, or whatever. It will just understand and convert what it needs to. This is all going out in 2 surround sound channels. So you might have a surround sound channel A. There you go. So that's A, and then again for B. You can see on the levels there. Although I'm a bit concerned that the sub isn't kicking in. I think something's gone wrong with that. This fuse is blown or something. It was working fine until they did pat testing, you know. I have to look at it. Okay, good. So sub would have gone in there at some point, but it didn't. Touchscreen interface, just load it in and click a tile. Load in where you're coming from, really. It'll normally ask you, do you want to put it into the system? Yeah, share your stuff. If you've got sounds you want to bring in, put it in there, let people have some stuff. I've got 3,000 different things on there, so some of them are sound effects, some of them are music. You're not going to find everything you ever want in there, okay? When you're thinking about your shows as well, you've got to think about compliance. So if you are bringing in copyrighted material, are we allowed to use it on the show? I don't quite know the rules of your show yet, but if you can, if you can't, this is something you need to look into. Do you need to get rights for it? Do you need to look up a pastiche of it, like something which has already been done that sounds very similar to it? You know, so loading those in. We can change different things on this. We can change, if I right click on a tile, although I'm upside down and backwards, so it's hard to do. Right click on there, I have an audio section, which allows me to select what type of output I want. Do I want it out of spot on A, spot on B? What speed do I want it? All this is non-destructive, by the way, so you can edit it and make different changes in the program and load up the same sample 100 different times and do 100 different things to it without affecting the original sample. So it's all within the program. Very, very cool. Why might you need 2 different channels, 2 independent channels of each other? Go back to the game show idea or something there, or show at the beginning. Think about it.